What is going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel and happy Friday the 13th. This is my review for the original 1980 Friday the 13th. This movie stars Adrian King, Betsy Palmer, and Kevin Bacon, and it was directed by Sean S. Cunningham. This movie centers around a group of young adults who become camp counselors at the new renovated Camp Crystal Lake, a camp that is very legendary for having an incident years prior that led to the deaths and the murders of two camp counselors. Soon, these young adults, as they're fixing up this camp, realize that someone is terrorizing them, hunting them, and killing them. And they're doing it based on revenge around a boy who drowned in the Camp Crystal Lake years prior. This movie is, to me, the greatest example of a B film. This movie far outweighs any other B movie you will ever see in your life because it has such a loyal fan base and it has spawned into decades of different movies within this franchise. And this is something that is so valuable and so key, is that this movie doesn't even have Jason Voorhees in it, but yet it still resonated with so many people that there was a sequel, and then there was a sequel to that sequel, and then there was a sequel to that sequel to that sequel, and it just kept going down the line, and eventually Jason Voorhees and the Friday the 13th franchise is acclaimed as one of the greatest slasher franchises of all time. It's a part of the big three along with Michael Myers of Halloween, Freddy from Nightmare on Elm Street, and Jason Voorhees. Now, myself, I have not always been the biggest fan of Friday the 13th. I do like the movies quite a bit, but I love Halloween, the movie. I also love the season, but Halloween is my all-time favorite horror film. And I've always kind of valued Jason a little less than I have Freddy and Michael Myers, but I still do really love Jason Voorhees when he's in his element and he's doing some wreckage and havoc on camp counselors. Unfortunately, though, this movie, we're not even going to really talk about Jason because Jason is not even the killer in this movie. He's only brought up in the last portion of the film, and you only get to see him come out of the lake at the end of the movie as a young boy. That's it. That's all we get of Jason. This movie, the killer is Jason's mom, Pamela Voorhees, played by Betsy Palmer, which that's not a spoiler, guys. Come on. This movie came out 40 years ago, so holy crap, 40 years ago. This movie came out 40 years ago, so cut me some slack. If you didn't know that, then you probably shouldn't even watch this review. I'm going to talk about the things that I really like about this movie and the things that maybe I don't like. Because I got to be honest, even though this is the first film in the Friday the 13th franchise, the one that started it all, this is not by any means my favorite film within this franchise. I do think that this movie is a very good movie when you hold it up in today's standards and what we do know of the slasher genre, and especially in creating some of those iconic tropes that we have in terms of the formula of the slasher genre of filmmaking. But the reason why it's not my favorite is simply because, number one, even though I do love Pamela Voorhees as a killer, she is not necessarily nearly as effective as Jason. Jason brings this gravitas where every time he's on screen, you are captivated. You feel that terror, that dread, because this is a superhuman being that really cannot be altered or destroyed or killed. And that makes it more satisfying as an audience member to watch because you can tell that this guy means business and he can rip apart limbs of people like that. Whereas Pamela Voorhees is just this vengeful mother, and that's really it. And you don't even get to see Pamela Voorhees in all her glory wreaking havoc and killing these counselors until the end of the film. It's revealed. And that to me is a little bit of a disservice. I wish that they wouldn't have tried going with this mystery element, this aspect, because it doesn't really pay off at the end. You're kind of like, oh, it's her? Oh, okay. Even though there's certain moments that don't feel like it truly would be this mother, this older woman, going around and killing these counselors in a different fashion of ways. Another thing is the kills aren't super unique. I think the only kill that I really, really love in this film is obviously the Kevin Bacon arrow to the neck kill. That is one of the most iconic kills in history, not just in Friday the 13th lore, but in all of slasher films. I mean, it's one of the most iconic scenes And I remember the first time watching that, I just about blew my mind. It was insane what they were able to pull off in 1980 in terms of visual effects and the sheer terror of someone actually doing this. Another reason why this film, to me, isn't as good as some of the other films in this franchise, there's a lot of dead moments in the film. And what I mean by that is there are scenes that you could really just cut out entirely out of this film. One of those scenes, for example, is a scene where Alice is making and brewing coffee. That's it. That's the entire scene. What's the point? I don't know. There is really no point at all because that coffee never really gets brought up anywhere after the fact. And it just really feels like a little bit of this maneuver to try to show the audience that there's more to the surface in this film than what there actually is. And it just feels like a little bit of a pandering. Don't know why that they have to try to have Alice make coffee, especially when it's towards the latter end of the film. We're in the third act and it's supposed to get monumentally more suspenseful. And by her brewing this coffee, it really doesn't really do anything for you. It really dulls you. Regardless of the dead space, regardless of the fact that Pamela Voorhees isn't as scary or as crafty as Jason, the thing that works with this film is the fact that this movie, it's a B movie, but it feels much more than that. And the movie never tries to overdo itself. It never tries to go for this grand, big, elusive type of horror film. It's very, very subtle and it's very compacted and small. And that's what I like about it. Now, there are some characters in here that really don't get enough attention. They kind of are just cannon fodder, and that's disappointing. But at the same time, this is a franchise that really kind of catapulted and created the horror trope campy genre, essentially. I mean, this really created that formula for that campy, that fun, B-rated, slasher, tropey film. That's really what this movie is, and I love it for that aspect. This is a very, very good movie, and on Friday the 13th, you gotta celebrate by watching a Friday the 13th film. It's not as scary as some of the other ones in the series. It might not even be as gory or as technically reliant as some of the other Friday the 13th films are, but regardless, this is a film that I absolutely love. And it is a fantastic example of what an 80s slasher film is and what it should always be. Anyway, guys, what do you think of Friday the 13th? Let me know down below in the comment section of this video. Make sure you guys drop a like on the video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to my channel for more content just like this. Now, I got to get rid of the elephant in the room here. I got to bring it up. Because of the issue that's going on with the coronavirus at this point in time, I will be making a video addressing what I'm going to do since I'm not really going to the theater and movies are really getting canceled left and right. So I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do for the upcoming few weeks while this is all going on, what videos you can expect, what live streams, what are we going to talk about. Because believe me, we're still going to have videos on this channel. It's just going to be a little bit different with everything going on. And again, be patient with me, guys. I really am trying to make the most out of what I have. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.